What's up, guys? It's JJ. I'm with Kait. Kait, how are you?
Not my best today.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
This episode we thought would be, I don't want to say more fun because it's not more fun.
Mm-hmm.
We thought it'd be maybe more appropriate to invite you guys in where we're at in life. It's been hard, would you say?
Yeah.
It's difficult because I know we're married and this is a Christian dating and singles podcast. I think the one thing that unites a lot of us is pain.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe broken dreams and just wrestling with God's timing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What would you say has been the hardest thing about going through a miscarriage specifically?
I mean, the hardest thing, I don't know where to begin. I think feeling hope and excitement, and then having physical and emotional devastation. It's very confusing. And you're questioning a lot about yourself, I feel like. That ends up happening from the female perspective, at least. It's honestly, it is different, but there's similarities to going through a breakup or wondering why you're still single and thinking that something would have happened by now, right? And thinking like there were times when I was dating where I thought this would be the person for me, and then realizing, oh, it's not. And I felt so sure. I felt like this was going well. I really thought that this was going to be a dream that God fulfilled, and then questioning, like, is it? And yeah, we have one amazing, amazing daughter. And I just always thought would and have more children. So I think there's just a lot of confusion with that.
How does the pain, because you're not a stranger to pain, right? In the course of your life, and especially your singleness, a lot of your story is a deep journey with pain.
Mm-hmm.
It's no stranger.
Mm-hmm.
How does this pain differ from maybe going through some of the darkest hours of abuse and suffering and relationships, heartbreak?
Okay, the biggest thing here is my emotions and hormones are not the same as they were going through breakups. Like, I'm actually depressed right now, and I wouldn't say that in the wake of breakups I was like feeling, quote, clinically depressed. I was definitely deeply sad. I had maybe a feeling of depression, but I wasn't in a state of actually being depressed, if that makes sense. So I would say there's just a lot that goes and happens when you chemically are going through something like we've gone through now more than one time.
We had our second miscarriage in 2 months. It's not even double the pain, would you say? It's just like it's like a new bottom of pain in
such a short time.
Yeah.
Like, it's like going through that the first time that we were in Asheville for the hurricane and dealing with all of that, and dealing on my end with some personal family stuff that was really heavy. And then this, and a second time. And that was all within a matter of 2 months. And it's just like so heavy. And I mean, I would say that would be the difference is for me, like, I feel like chemically I'm not in the same place, and that I necessarily was maybe after a breakup. I'm not saying that people don't deal with depression after breakups, but for me, that I really am feeling like not okay.
How do you cope with having like such great emotional pain and like not segmenting like your spiritual life? How have you experienced such great emotional pain and also try to have hope in God and meet God and seek comfort in God? Has that been a struggle?
Yeah. I feel like I'm just there it's just really hard but at the end of the day, I know that God is good. I can say that, and I do know it in my gut. Like, I know now right now sucks, and I know God is still good. And sometimes it's hard to feel that on a daily basis, but I do know it. So what I'm working on is feeling it.
Yeah, and that described to me because I'm in the same place. Intellectually, knowing God is good. Knowing in eternity, there's a great hope that awaits us. But what about knowing that in your heart and your soul? Like, do you think that's something that's, maybe being revealed that you and I don't maybe hold that truth tightly in our heart? Like, because I feel like I know it in my head, but my heart is having such a hard time wrapping itself around that truth. And that's kind of been the wrestle.
Yeah, I hear you. I think for me, I feel like emotionally a block being able to get there because of just emotionally where my emotions are at, like with the combination of depression. Like, I just feel like it's hard for me to feel joy at all or really hope at all right now. Um, I wouldn't say I felt that to this extent after the first miscarriage. I feel like it in a deeper way now, but I truly believe that at least in this current moment, I feel like chemically something is off and it's just harder for me to get there. I mean, I'm having migraines every day. I'm like wanting to sleep half the day. Like, I feel like I'm seeing the world in black and white right now. And that's just kind of where I'm at the moment. So clinging to knowing that truth, it's there, but being able to like feel it, it takes a lot more for me to be able to feel even an ounce of it right now.
Yeah, it's such an interesting statement to feel truth in our heart. Right.
Well, because is your question saying like, was that a testing of faith, right? Like, I'm just going to say it for what it is. Do I really know God and do I really trust God and do I really feel God's love and presence if I can't feel it in the lowest?
Right. I know it's the best question to ask because without pain and suffering, there's almost no way to reveal in our heart and soul what we really believe and stand on.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like our faith is not just an intellectual exercise of our mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's a journey of relationship in our heart and soul with God.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just based off James, it's just so clear, like trials don't build faith. Trials revealed what was already been built through time.
Yeah.
Through richness of time with Jesus and experiencing him. And I think that's part of the
That's why I feel like you might be at a better place to answer it because you're not. You may be experiencing feelings of depression, but I don't feel like you're in depression. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So maybe because I just feel like I'm not at a place to answer that. I feel like I'm like sick for no other better term than that. And I don't know, maybe it's a scapegoat, but that's just where I'm at. I feel like it's just like I just don't know if I can speak to that and answer that question truthfully because I feel like there's a block that's like a legitimate block. But what about for you?
Well, don't you think that almost takes more courage to say? Because like being a Christian leader, you're almost expected to give an answer that ends on a high note with some sense of hope
it
and
sucks.
truth and encouragement.
Right. I mean, like, I hate where I'm at right now. Like, I don't want to be saying the things I'm saying or feeling the things I'm feeling. Like, I've told you that, and it's like, but, my mentor also said to me, if like having a brand, Kait, of being always up and always positive and always hopeful, if that isn't sustainable for you, then it's not sustainable for the people that follow you.
Yeah.
And so I have to be honest that that's just where I'm at. And I'm sure that there are people wherever they're at in their journey listening to this, especially our singles that are like, yeah, that's just where I'm at right now.
Well, don't you think it's also like impossible to always like that's what you just said to me? Like, man, it just sounds like you're human.
Yeah.
And any other model or brand or example is I don't know where we got so obsessed with always being so positive,
Yeah.
because I don't think that's the story of Jesus.
Right. You know what it is? Like, I actually am living this right now. What I do tell singles is you can absolutely be in a season of disappointment. I think the biggest goal is to not remain stuck there, because when you remain stuck, it leads to hopelessness
Yeah.
and absolute despair. And that's where you literally are like stuck in a trench and you can't see any other way forward. And so I kind of feel like I'm in a trench in this moment, but I don't feel like I'm going to be in this trench forever. And my goal is to not be in this trench forever.
Right. But but when you're in the trench, like right now, and you're reminding yourself of that encouragement or perspective, do you think it's kind of easy to get caught in like a performative, like I got to get out and dig myself out of this trench, or like
it's tempting.
How do we?
It's tempting, you know. It's very tempting. It's tempting to not record this podcast or ever have it be released. It's tempting to not teach School of Dating tomorrow night because I'm so blah, you know. Like, it's tempting to not be honest with people when they say how I'm doing. And but I'm also so annoyed with faking it. I don't want to really fake it and pretend, because I spent so much of my life doing that. So it's just not worth it. You know, the bane of my existence right now, in this moment with where I'm at, is if you stuck me in a room with a ton of people that I didn't know and expected me to network. Because all it's gonna be, "Oh, hi, what are you doing? How are you? Blah, blah, blah." And I'll be like, "Oh my gosh." Like, I do not have the capacity to like turn on right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like, turning on and off is just innately, I don't know if something that we're like called to do. I think it's just much better to say, I'm always authentically me. And if I'm that,
Yeah.
then authentically me right now in a room full of networking is just not going to go well.
Exactly. Yes. Because authentically me, like, I'm going to go through on a different season. I will go through things, but like, I'm also like probably excited to be at that event and meet new people and like want to get to know them and be curious. Right now, I have zero interest in that.
Yeah. And authentically you needs to be with close friends, praying, processing,
or saying nothing and watching a TV show.
And just being together and watching a rom-com.
Yeah, exactly. You've Got Mail, like we watched last week.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good movie. Kind of all these rom-coms have these dark sides of like people cheating, you know.
All right. Don't ruin it. It's my favorite.
Through the first miscarriage, and now as we embark about going through a second, what are some things that anyone specifically has said to you that's really helped, that you've kind of clung to? Or are there any verses or truths?
I think some of our friends said, you know, I forget exactly what they said, you'll remember, but like giving yourself space to mourn, that's important and that's biblical, to like actually have space to mourn, and Jesus mourned. And we can't rush the mourning. We shouldn't like just go right past it, like be intentional with mourning.
Yeah. Have you been tempted to rush past it?
Yeah. I mean, it's been a hard few days. You were out of town when this all happened. We have been hosting family, which is totally okay, but it's definitely tempting to just like numb and not actually mourn and process.
Yeah. And you said something really interesting. You were tempted almost as a source of hope to book doctor appointments and get yourself into programs like functional medicine and visit your hormones, and almost immediately, right? How have you walked the balance of, I am looking forward to that because I want to address what's going on, but I'm also placing a hope, like is it a misfound hope or a twisted hope, or, you know, that I
think it's like
I'm looking for a fix.
I don't know the exact yeah, I'm looking for an answer, because I do believe there is an answer to what's going on and why this would happen 2 times in a row. I believe that because I feel so off, and I felt off for months in my body. So
Is there any fear though of like playing out that future and it maybe not going well?
Well, if it doesn't go well and yet I feel better in my body, that's still at least some kind of win for me. Because right now I've just felt horrible for some time.
Right.
So the point is to first get healthy, my body, and to feel good.
Like not pregnancy and fertility aside, or that
Right. That's part of it, but I mean just even outside of that.
Yeah, because how long do you think you've just
'Cause
felt?
I mean, all of postpartum.
Yeah.
Ever since giving birth, which is natural in the first months, but I just feel like something hasn't like fully clicked back in. And some would say I'm still like in postpartum right now, being 8 months out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been really hard to see. It's really hard to see your partner go through something like this, whether it's postpartum, because it's not talked about, especially in men's circles, how giving a baby does wreck your body.
Right.
Emotionally, but physically. Your hormones. I mean, have you ever seen a chart of your hormones after
it's nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
And more importantly, you're giving birth to a baby.
Mm-hmm.
You're in diapers for a month or two.
A month, yeah.
With ice packs and gels and
creams and a lot of people don't know what's going on down there.
And I don't say that in a way to scare people. It's just the reality of giving birth does come at a cost.
Yeah.
But it's a cost everyone's willing to pay because of the great joy of it, right?
Yeah.
But it's been hard to see you go through not just that, but emotionally and physically and mentally, 2 miscarriages in 2 months, I think is just, all I can think about is this. Number one, I wouldn't wish this on anybody. I just wouldn't, I wish that no one had to go through this experience.
Yeah.
And 2, someone told me this, the most helpful piece of advice, and some of the most powerful words in the Bible. It's amazing that it's the shortest verse, and it's at one of the most powerful verses in the entire Bible, that Jesus wept.
Yeah.
Because the context of it was he was looking at the tomb of Lazarus, his friend who was dead. And despite knowing intellectually in his mind and his spirit what laid ahead, a great hope, a huge miracle, like it's insane. He knew what goodness laid ahead in the coming moments. And yet he still wept, like he wept. He was heartbroken. Mm-hmm. His soul was devastated. Mm-hmm. And like, there's just something about that moment. I've just said it over and over to you. You've heard this so many times. There's just something about that moment where he was looking at it and he just knew in his soul, since he's been there since the beginning of time, it's not supposed to be this way. Mm-hmm. It is not supposed to be this way. Yeah. And that is the only truth that I really cling to in the just times of great pain and sadness that make no sense. For some reason, that phrase hit me like lightning, because I'm like, in my soul, I look at this pain and devastation and all their pain and devastation, whether it's the most minuscule or the greatest loss. And you just know it's not supposed to be this way. And I think every human being, like when the Bible talks about God's law and God's truth is written on all hearts of humans, I think that is like a truth that we all know in the eternal spirit in our soul. Like, it is just not supposed to be this way. Like, we're grieved at the injustice and the wrong of it because we know it's not supposed to be this way. Like, this is the brokenness at its fullest in this reality that we're experiencing. Mm-hmm. But living in reality means we have to find a way to live in acceptance of where we're at. Mm-hmm. If you gave me another alternative where these pregnancies worked out and I could choose that reality, I have to get to a place where I would say no. For some reason and for some way that I can't see right now, God has given us this journey to go through. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't trade anything about it, including the most devastating Like, that's the place I want to get to.
Yeah.
But it would be totally just disingenuous to say that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Because if I could, I would instantly in a heartbeat swap and like give my life. Like, I would happily like give my life. Okay, I have a question. So, because I think it's so parallel to the experience of single women and single men who want so desperately something that they don't have. While we have Eleanor, and there's just such a profound gratefulness for the miracle that she is, like a healthy living baby is just a ridiculous miracle that's not promised and guaranteed that we are more familiar with now. Is it hard now, like, to see women walking around who are 20 weeks pregnant, 25 weeks pregnant, 30 weeks? They have a healthy baby on the way. I saw a video of a newborn baby the other day and my heart just broke because that is what we lost, right? We didn't lose a tiny clump of cells. Like, we just, now that we've been through the experience, I think we both know just the profound joy of what we lost. Has that been hard to celebrate more friends getting pregnant now, people having something that you just it's like it just, melted between your fingers?
Yeah.
And how have you just held just severe pain and sadness and heartbreak while also still celebrating friends who have exactly what you had just lost?
I think the first time it was a lot easier. I think this time it's definitely harder. It's like, yeah, the question really is also like, can you relate to single people who so desperately want something like marriage and they, see another person getting engaged, then having a baby and like all these things as the years are ticking by for them. And like, I feel that in a sense. It's different, but it is tough. It's tough because you're still happy for that person. You would never be like, God, I wish that didn't happen for that person. Like I would never feel that way. But it's more of, all right, Lord, like I thought that was going to be me too. So what's going on here? Like, why is it not me too? Why? And that's where I think that can happen for a lot of singles too. It's where the questioning of God comes in. It's where the questioning of yourself comes in. It's where the anger towards God comes in. And I feel like I would say I'm experiencing all of those things. I think it's really hard to not question myself. If I'm being honest, that's probably one of the harder ones.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I think, why do we go back to ourselves in these times of rejection and pain and sadness? Why do you feel like you are the target at the end of that pain?
I mean, it comes back to my wounding and blaming myself and perfectionism and performance and feeling like I've done something wrong.
Yeah.
And not that I did that I sinned and so God is punishing me, nothing like that, but more of like my body is not right. So if it was equating this to dating of like, I'm never going to be enough for the right guy, like I'm too much or I'm never going to be enough, or like there's like, I'm defective, I guess would be like the thing. Like I'm defective. I think that would apply to a single person and applies to my situation too and loss.
I've never asked you this, but do you feel like you let me down?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's like
you let yourself down, and
yeah, it's horrible. Like, I feel like I'm breaking your dreams too. And I don't feel that all the time, but it definitely comes and feeling that, I've said I'm sorry to you so many times. And it's not just because I'm sorry because we're going through this, but like I'm sorry because I feel like I'm letting you down. And I'm sad about that.
it's just so hard to hear because, like, you could never let me down in that sense. There's nothing that you could have done differently. you don't have the power of life and death, and it just hurts to see you like blame yourself at the end of the day, because I love you so much, and you did not let me down at all. Like this is just, it's so out of your control. Like you and I don't have the power over life and death. And more importantly, like, I'm honored to like share the burden of this pain with you, and it's our pain, and it's our sadness. And, like just to see you accept that shame and wrestle through it is so hard, because there's nothing that you could have done differently, to affect what's happened. And I just love you so much. It's just hard.
Thanks, baby.
I'd say that's probably second to losing, life. The hardest thing from my perspective is just seeing you hurt so much. And the shame and the blame, and the sadness. And I'd say that's just by far, because it's just the journey that we have to go through, and there's no encouraging in a way. There's just like, there's no other way through pain except through it. And that's the pain that God uses and transforms. But I'd say like we're in the middle of that. And I'm so proud of you, like the vulnerability and the courage to talk about it. We didn't want to talk about it. I wish we had a little bit more of like an encouraging and uplifting note.
I guess my hope is that people feel seen for whatever pain they're walking through or disappointment, because while it might not be exactly the same, like, people look to us and they're like, well, they have all this perfect relationship, perfect this, perfect that sometimes. And I'm like, yeah, well, we're no, we're not perfect, but B, like we still experience pain too. And I just hope that our people feel seen in whatever way that God wants to make them feel seen.
Yeah, my greatest hope is that, like, while we've individually experienced God's love and nearness, and I know this was not a conversation that focused on that, it's still very real. And what's crazy is I felt God's love more horizontally through other people, and sharing the pain and the burden, than any other way I've experienced God's love.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, my greatest hope is that if you're in pain, you have the courage to ask for help, and not do it alone, because that's where I've truly experienced the body of Christ.
Yeah, you need people to walk with you, to put their arm around you. Like, that's like, I'm picturing in the New Testament, it's like he's holding Abraham, is it? Holding up the rock, and his two friends helping hold up his hands. Like that's what I picture in these moments. So,
Moses.
Was it Moses? Sorry, I'm not in a place to be quoting any stories right now.
You're good. It's so good, but like.
But that picture is what I picture.
Well, think about it like this: I picture Adam walking in perfect unity and harmony, and God looking at him saying, "This is not good." And in perfect harmony and union, Adam also needed horizontally human relationship. How much more do you think we need it if we're in pain and suffering, and in relationship with God? Like, how much more do you think we need human relationship and people around us to support us and love us?
So much.
Yeah, it feels bizarre to relate miscarriage pain in our journey to the pain of singles. Although I do think pain is universal. I think that was the hope of this conversation, to just be more vulnerable. I think pretending like everything's okay helps nobody. And also this is ongoing. This is just where we're at, and we know everything will be okay, especially in months and years in the future to come. I do think it's like important and it takes such immense courage and strength to do what you just did. I'm so deeply impressed and proud of you.
Thanks.
And I love you so much.
I love you too. I love you guys. The Heart of Dating podcast is created by Kait and JJ Tomlin. Shout out to our epic audio and video editor, Scott Caro. We have an amazing Heart of Dating team who helps bring the show to you each week. I want to shout out Kelsey Napier, our Heart of Dating digital marketing coordinator, and Elena Gibson, our brand and community manager. We couldn't do it without them. Now, if you guys have never ranked us or reviewed us on iTunes or Spotify, would you consider doing that? It would mean so much because our podcast can get more discovered and more people can learn how to better date as Christians. Don't we all want that? We launch our podcast each and every week on Wednesdays, so we will see you next week.